Welcome to Simple Discipleship Unfiltered.
Unfiltered.
Where no topic is off limits.
Hey, welcome to Simple Discipleship Unfiltered. I'm Diana.
Kendall.
And I'm Ashton.
How are y'all?
That sounded so
Fine. How are you?
Hey. Well, might as well just rip off the Band-Aid first thing, right?
Yeah,
So
sure.
go ahead and share the news.
Jake and I are moving to, and the kids are moving to New Mexico.
Well, you kind of got to take the kids. I mean, right?
Yeah, well,
You're
yeah.
kind of a
It's just a
package
given,
deal,
but just
yeah.
in case anybody's concerned.
Are you leaving all your babies?
you and Jake. So what
So do you feel about that?
I am excited because the Lord has said over and over what he's going to be doing in that time. And although it even may be very minimal of what he said, like I'm still hopeful for what's to come. I really do feel like it's been like this is an answer to a lot of my prayers that I've had all year and things that I didn't even realize in times of prayer that I was saying, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
like I'm saying, and it wasn't from a place like I didn't mean it. It was like when you get to that almost travailing point that you're pouring your heart out before the Lord and like these things are coming forth. And then you think back when you're in your flesh again and you're like, why did I say that? You know, but it's like, it's that posture of my heart that no, Lord, I really do mean like if it means that you have to take away my home or take away the ministry or take away like all these things. And if that means like, then I can still I can come closer to you, then so be it.
Right.
So, and even people that I was afraid like in our family that would be upset or try to like fight back on it, you know, there's not really been any of that. There's been the questions of like, why, you know, and then how is that going to work? But, more often than not, it's people saying like, yeah, that kind of lines up with what you've been praying, you know, it lines up with where your heart's been. So, I just really asked the Lord, I was like, I just need a yes or no. Like, cause y'all know me. I usually I need, if we're going to do this, then that's fine. But I need like the next 10 steps, like not just the next step. And I just knew like I couldn't even ask the Lord that. Like, it was like, I just need a yes or no. And then we'll figure out the rest later. Cause in my flesh, it doesn't make sense. Why would you call me and my family to this ministry? You know, and that for me is the biggest deal because like I left my job to do this full time and even photography, but honestly, photography wasn't even like a question of mine when the Lord said like, and I'll explain that in a second, but ministry is like it for me. Like that is my obligation here, you know, just the same way like Jake's obligation is the ranch that he's on right now. So, to me, I felt at first in my flesh that I was going to let y'all down, regardless of if it's what the Lord wanted or not, you know, but obviously that's just our flesh talking because we know that he will make a way. So I think just not really understanding like how all of this plays out is what's hurting the flesh. And then I think more than that, it's the grieving. And the Lord's been very adamant, like, grieve now, grieve when you're with these people, like let the tears flow. And we all are like apologizing of how much the tears have been flowing, but the Lord's like, let it out. And I've even tried to tell Jake that, like, let it out now, because then if not, you're going to be there boo-hooing with nobody to boo-hoo with, you know? But I really just love the way that I can't even say the Lord said yes, because I said, like, give me a yes or no, and then we'll figure out the rest later. And he never really said yes, and I'll explain that. Is like, Jake had sent me, this offer was made, and, like, we had to have a decision. The guy said you could give like, you have, like, a week or two, but I knew it needed to be sooner than that. And so we had talked about it, talked with the girls, and we knew by like the next 2 days that this was going to be it. But he started sending pictures of the house and then like a video of inside the house. And so I, for whatever reason, I think it was prophetic in a way, but I like started sketching out the layout of the house, you know, and like every door, every storage closet, every, like all these things. And because like something in me knew like I'm going to be there. And so I need to see it, like what I'm walking into. You know what I mean? Like I don't like to walk in a place and not know the layout, like especially if that's going to be my home or whatever. And so I sketched that out, and then I wrote down like all these questions that I was just kind of writing my heart out on the same paper, and just questions that I had. And so, I was like, Lord, I just need a yes or no, and we'll figure out the rest. And there was this anxiousness in my heart, but at the same time, like, it was just like this subtle, like, pull of like, yeah, you have to go, and the only way I can explain it is like if you're looking at your spouse or a really dear friend of yours that you almost have those telepathy moments kind of thing, is like when you look at them and you just know, like, whatever the case may be, whatever the situation is, but you look at them and in that moment, you don't have to say a word and you're like, okay, like, I got it. And I loved that because a year ago, I would have needed yes written in the sand, in the sky, y'all to confirm it,
fleece.
Everybody else to confirm it, and then and then I'll still need the 10 steps, to get there, and then beyond that, and like, as scary as it is, like, I love the fact that, like, I'm in that place with the Lord, like, he didn't even have to verbally, audibly say anything to me. He just, it was just there. And so, and it's a really big thing because trusting my husband in this, like, for those of you who don't know the dynamic, I've always been the one to, like, take the charge, so to speak, and Jake he's very loving in that way that he just goes with the flow, and I'll talk to him about stuff, but it always ends up being, I just want you to do whatever you want. And so this is the first time that he said, I know we need to go. And the Lord's like, you have to trust me and him. And then that's enough for you. And so it's a lot of trusting my husband because I don't know. I don't know what this life is like out there. And he's not necessarily been out that far before, but he knows what it's like. So to an extent. So yeah, that's kind of all the things.
What do you think, Ashton?
I can't really talk about it. I'm happy for my friends. I'm just having a hard time.
Yeah, because that's your person, and I get that. Your best buds, and we're gonna miss you, But but here's the thing, and I talked about this on Sunday, is that this whole journey has just been different for all of us. And, I mean, we just stepped out, and you get to a year and you're thinking, okay, we're at a year, and where are we going to go next? What's the next part? But we've had words of prophecy, and this is why I teach that prophecy is so important, and hearing the voice of God and knowing that you hear him clearly, in that it was prophesied over us maybe 8 months ago or so. And I trust this person. I trust what they say, because the way you try a prophet, if you will, is if the things that they say come to pass, right? Now, they don't always happen right away because prophetic words are given by God, that God steps a person into the future and grabs some of the future and brings it back to you, and then you wait and you trust until that happens. And so the thing that he had said was, and this is verbatim, is that he said, don't become complacent with everything that goes on with this ministry, because it's unlike anything else that anybody is doing. And we learned that quickly, that, yeah, that's true. We don't fit the mold of everybody else. So therefore, we get talked about, we get shunned, whatever happens, and we could care less. But either way, he said, and you're not going to be a beacon, you're going to be the lighthouse. And you're not going to be just one place. You're going to be in multiple places. In my mind, and I know Ashton figured too, we all did, is that we're going to be multiple. Okay, we'll be over here in Terrell, but then we're also going to have a place out by the lake, and we might have a place down south or whatever, in Texas. But then God expands it to another state, you know. And so Sunday I'm driving over, and we haven't talked about the storms and stuff we went through, but we did a little bit last time. But we lost a sign that was out by the road, that the owner has for these multiple little buildings here. And on that sign are two M3 ministry signs that kind of point you down this street, because we're like around the corner. And so on the way over, the Lord said, I want you to take those signs out of the sign that's been destroyed, because you're going to take one of those with you, because he's planting the next branch there. Mm-hmm. Now, does that mean you're going to be there forever? It's a mobile sign. You can take it wherever you want to go, right? But I really feel like, and God gave me peace about it, was that, one, I've always told Jake that he's one of the three. It never was just, you're the three, me, you, and Ashton. It was me, you, Ashton, and Jake. Because you and Jake are one. And I always told him, I trust that you hear from God. And I think that perplexed him, because a lot of people don't see him as being the godly man, you know, whatever. But when he told me that, God said, you always told him that you trusted, so now you have to trust. Because me in the flesh want to say, but he's a goober, you know, he's just, you know, he don't know what he's talking about. He just want to go ride some horses, you know. No, God said, you trust him, because I am leading in this direction. And he gave me peace about it. Now, am I sad about it? Yes, I'm sad that you won't be here physically. But I trust God in this. And he's been telling us, trust. And one of the greatest examples is, we were just talking about on like Wednesday, I think, is when Jesus came to each of the disciples that he called. Mm-hmm. I mean, understand, they don't know nothing about Jesus. Jesus just a dude in sandals. But he walks up to them where they are in their moment, in their middle of their profession, and they're out fishing, they're out doing their thing, and here comes this man, and the only thing he says is, follow me. Right. And there had to be that split second, that split moment in which they made a decision. I'll follow you. But why? Why? Because God had already selected them. He had already called them. Mm-hmm. He had already created them from the beginning of time, and he had already called them and chosen them. All they had to do was to come in agreement with what he had already decided. Right. And I got asked the question about what's the difference between being called and being chosen? What Scripture say? Scripture says many are called. Everyone is called to come into the fold. Jesus gives everybody the opportunity to make the choice. But there are a few that are chosen, that will make the choice. Not that it's predestined, but that he already knows what you're going to determine in your heart. Right. There's a big difference between predestination and predetermination. Is Jesus already can know what you're going to do with your life, yet he's created you and given you the free will to do it. Mm-hmm. That was what he did on the cross, right? Is that I'm going here for everybody, yet I know, because I'm already in infinity, who's going to choose me and who's not. Mm-hmm. That's powerful. I'm going to create billions of people, bring them here, give them the opportunity to serve me, even though I know that there's billions who are not going to choose. Yet I'm going to choose you. Mm-hmm. I'm calling you. And so I think that this is just the main thing. This God says, do you just follow me? Think of Peter. I mean, Peter had a wife. And he goes, tells his wife, I know I'm usually up in the bar. I know I'm usually gambling. I know I'm usually doing this, fighting everybody, his personality, the things he did, didn't conform to somebody who would walk into your home and say, this guy just came up to me while we were fishing and says, follow me. I don't know what that means. I love that if you've seen The Chosen, the part where Peter gets selected. I can so see the guy plays him so perfect. And he says, I don't know what that means to follow him, but I know I gotta go. I know that I have to go and figure out, what is this? What does that mean, that I've got to follow Jesus? Right? And imagine what his wife said.
You're lying.
What you been drinking?
Right.
What's her name?
I wish I could see, like, what would happen in modern day. Like, I was even thinking, what would I do if Jesus walked up to me and was like, follow me? I'd be like, because I want to follow him. I believe in him. I trust him. I love him. I adore him. But it makes me wonder, like, if he walked up to me, would I, or if I had that follow me moment, would I do it? You know?
But you did.
Well, yeah. But it was, I didn't do it alone.
But where was the moment where you decided, I'm all in?
I'm not gonna lie. I think it was even after we had already, like, walked away, you know? Because I was like, I don't know, Lord, but I trust them, so... And, you know, he had shown me things, but I hadn't been seeing from him very long, or hearing from him very long.
Yeah.
You know, it was very new.
Brand new, yeah.
And it was in the movie theater. There was something that happened, and there was a day where it was just different.
Yeah.
It was just different. And, I mean, I could, like, see things I had never seen. I was, like, seeing fire, and I was hearing the Lord say, like, just look at me.
Yeah.
Just look at me. Just look at me. And I remember that day. It shifted. Everything about me shifted. Like, I don't know. There was just this, okay, I'm looking at you. And in looking at him, I have to go where he is. So that's what I did. And I feel like I've been all in ever since. And I fall more in love with it every day. I fall more in love with Jesus every day. And and one thing I've learned is, like, listening to him to where he tells me in the Bible, because, like, I swear he has a sense of humor. He's so funny.
He's very funny.
Because I just was not a huge Old Testament person.
Yeah.
You know, that just wasn't my thing. And the Lord had me in Old Testament, and some of the greatest revelation I ever had was in Old Testament. I think Zechariah, to be specific.
Yeah.
And then just the other day, the Lord was like, okay, let's go to the Gospels. And I was like, say, man, I was just in the Old Testament. Like, what are you doing? So sorry.
Just now getting here, yeah.
And so, to me, that's me following Jesus. But I pray that if I come to a moment that Kendall and Jake have, like, I can just know. I mean, I'm not jumping to move out of Texas. I've lived in the same county my entire life. But if he tells me to go, if he tells me to leave, I hope it's New Mexico. But
or Tennessee,
or Tennessee. I have people.
Yeah, and people there.
Make sure you really hear the Lord on that.
Just make sure you really hear New Mexico.
We love you, Aunt Brenda, but we'll have to come take a road trip.
Yeah. So I
would definitely road trip to Tennessee.
Yeah,
I would
no doubt.
It would hurt my heart, but I would definitely road trip over there.
I think that was the hard part, and I'm probably going to cry.
It's okay.
Because I was like, when I thought you said, like, we were growing, I thought you meant, like, you would send people from New Mexico and we would just send them back, we would trust them. We would
just
go
ship
visit
them over and we'll ship them back. We'll fix them and
you know?
We'll take care of all the fees, Lord.
Like, that's what I thought. I didn't think that this would be separated, but
yeah.
I mean, I've always believed that this would be something that I pray, not in a cocky or arrogant way, but, like, overtakes the country in a sense of, like, the Lord is just moving through us and we have to just go, and so that's been hard for me. And Kendall is my person. Like, The only people closer to me are Cash and Macy. So,
Yeah.
but she's following Jesus.
It is. And that's what I'm saying. It's like there comes a part where, and we keep talking about God break down all the idols in my life and break down all of the comfort zones and break down anything that I put before you. And boy, he just like takes a big old thing and says, well, since you said, and he does. And it's like, did y'all ever play that break the ice game?
Yeah.
Where you had that little baby hammer and you had their little bricks of ice and you got to tap the little ice and you were trying not to break the ice, and kind of like playing, what's that, Jenga?
Jenga.
What is it?
It's one of those. Jenga.
Where you
maybe?
pull the little things out?
Yeah.
It's kind of like being in that. It's like you have this all built up the way you feel like it's supposed to be. And then slowly but surely the Lord begins to pull out the pieces because you say, take my turn.
Right. But when it's executed properly, you get higher than you ever could in the initial build.
And that's the thing. If we try to do this, we would be so messed up. Stuff would just fall apart. But when you say, not my will, but your will, then he says, I'll take out the pieces.
Yeah.
Because the way I already know the piece that needs to go, and I already know the plans that I have for you. And so when I move you, it's because I've planned that ahead of time. Right. Before the beginning of the world, he already knew this moment. That's the thing that we have to understand is the powerfulness of our God in that he already orchestrated this moment. Think of all the things that have to take place for you even to be here this day.
Right.
And so I think that it's so easy to become complacent to a place, to a facility, and we've all felt like we're not going to be at this facility very long. We didn't even sign more than a year lease on it because we just felt like the Lord was going to take us to our next place. Now we're getting down to the wire, Lord, and so fix that. But anyway,
Do we stay or
yeah. And so the thing is that I have to trust you. I have to trust you that you're in control of this. What do you think?
Well, I think what you said a second ago is like we've built up our whole life, and that's exactly what the Lord's been saying to me is like, because I'll say, but Lord, my home, and he's like, yeah, your home.
Yeah.
And it's not that there's things wrong and maybe the way that we've built up our life, like maybe we've done it with the intention of, Lord, what do you want me to do? And those things are fine, but somewhere along the way, like not somewhere along the way, it's been there for a while, I know for myself, but like there's these moments where he's like, yeah, it was good for a while, but if you want to go to the next step, you've got to realize like your life that you've created, because you say it, this is my, like we say it, people say it, like this is my life, this is my home, this is my car, this is all mine, and we don't realize how selfish of a people we are, because then if we just slap it on there later and we go, oh well, the Lord gave me, whatever, but more often than not, it's mine, and so when the Lord tries to strip you from that mentality of the life that you've built up so that he can have his perfect way and perfect will in your life, that's hard. It's hard to surrender to that. It's hard to say like, and this is really, this is still not even to the degree that I've heard other people's stories. There's stories that the Lord tells them, sell everything you have.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's not sell it, give it away. And I've heard numerous stories of that, and I'm like, I'm not even to that point. Like, I'm not having to give away my home. I'm not having to give away my cars and literally be stripped of everything to, like, yes, I feel like I'm being stripped of everything, but this is the next level for me. I'm not saying that there might not be one day that the Lord says, now give it all away. Yeah. He might take us to another level of whatever it may be, but if you truly want the Lord to have his perfect will and way in your life, there has to be not just repentance, not just partial obedience, not even just surrender. There has to be sacrifice.
Yeah.
Like it's all throughout the Old Testament. There has to be some sort of sacrifice. Otherwise, you're only going to get so far with the Lord. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that makes sense. That's just what I'm living right now, is like, there has to come a point where you say, like, okay, forget everything I like or want or desire in this moment. Because does he give us the desires of his heart? But yes, but to what?
Yeah.
To those who love him, to those who desire him, to those who follow him. So if my desire doesn't line up with you, then it's probably not a good desire. And it may not be sinful, it may not be evil, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, I don't know. There comes I want us all to like think about it. If I'm not in a season of sacrificing something, am I really like where you want me to be, Lord? And then think about it, ask him, like, what is it in me that you need me to sacrifice? Because I'll be honest, once you get to that place of being willing to say, like, whatever it is, sacrifice comes quick after. Like you said, like, we said it, and then it's like, boom. You know, and things are just, since the beginning of this year, that's 6 months in.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, wow, okay, well, you didn't, like, give me a chance to breathe. Like, I said the prayer, and you're like, all right, give it to me.
Yeah.
But I think it's because he knew the posture of our heart in that moment. We weren't just fluffing up words to make something sound good in front of people or in our quiet time with him. Like, we were genuine when we said, Lord, whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
If it means you strip me of everything I have, then so be it. Like, and then if that means I'm only left with me and you, then great. Like, I don't know. My flesh is going to be miserable, but okay. Like, we'll get past that. We'll get past the grieving. We'll get past the mourning of it. But there comes a point where in all of our lives, if you're at a point in your life where you say, like, I want more of the Lord, be ready for sacrifice.
It really is. When you say, Lord, I'll follow you wherever it is, wherever you want to take from me, you can have it, you know, and you know, y'all know the story when I rededicated my life to the Lord. I had went so far from him, but he found me in the bar, brought me out, and I was like, okay, what do you want? You know? And then it was to go to Florida, you know, leave your home, leave where you grew up, leave everywhere, you know, and go. And I was like, okay, so let me just, I leased out my house, and because it was my house. It was my house even before I was with my ex-husband. So that was mine. It was my house, my 5 acres, and nobody was going to take that. You know what I'm saying? And so I leased it out and sold everything that we had with the church. Everything. I'm telling you, tons of things. Just, if I didn't sell it, which I didn't sell very much, I just gave it to Genesis Center. I gave it to whomever. And just, I went with a little, one of them little baby U-Hauls that you pull behind a vehicle, right? That's all that I had left. And I think it was just, very minimal that you can fit in there. And plus I had a Mustang, so whatever I could put in the Mustang. And,
Not a lot.
And it wasn't a lot. So and I went there just, you know, back home with my parents and you know, ended up in the little retirement place and all that. And then I ended up, after, of course, about a year and a half, just selling my home because I couldn't keep up with it in Florida, and I'm in Texas, you know. And so that safety net that was there no longer was there because that was mine. And I remember telling my dad, I said, Dad, I can't keep up with the land, you know, because you got to mow grass and you got to have, you know, people go out to do things for you, and they'll do stuff for you for a little bit, but then that wears off. And then, and so I couldn't, you know, keep it. And I had to get away from that friendship that was toxic. And I had to get away from just my life that was familiar. And so my case was because I was starting fresh. I see your case as being because it's your next step where God is taking you. And so it's such a big thing when you say, God, I give you everything that I have. And he says, okay, I'm going to take it.
But isn't it better to give than for him to strip, like, because you won't give?
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
mean, then you're at that rock bottom
Well,
place. But
But almost like, I'll be honest, because like I feel like we're all in it in some degree, but really being in it of like, okay, y'all will still be here maybe without me, but like I even think this is just where my brain goes, like, y'all are still going to be in that building, you're still going to have like the podcast, and then I'm going to be calling in on a phone and like those are just little things, but that's just where my mind goes, because and like we've said, like you don't realize how spoiled you've become, how complacent you've become in that, how much you've taken for granted the things that the Lord has allowed. And it's not things that are bad. Again, it's just we don't realize how dependent upon someone else or something else that we become. And so I would even say that even in that moment of saying, Lord, I'll give it to you, he still has to strip. Mm-hmm. And not in a place...
Because you're still trying to hold on to something.
Yeah. And not necessarily in a place that I'm stripping it because of your disobedience. Ruby, can you go out there, watch Poppy? You have to be quiet, baby. Not necessarily from that place of like, I'm stripping because you're not obeying me. Mm-hmm. Because that's worse, in my opinion. But the flesh of it it's still bad. It still hurts us when he says, now I'm going to prune it because there's fruit here and I'm loving the fruit. It's beautiful fruit. But if you do want sweeter, richer fruit, I have to cut it off. Like I have to strip you now. I know you've said you will, but now I'm still going to have to strip it off. And it still hurts. I think it probably hurts the same, if not, like I don't know which side would hurt more. I'm not at the other end of it, but I don't want to find out. But at the same time, I know that regardless of whatever side of the spectrum we're on, like the stripping of the flesh does not feel good. Right. Like I will never try to sugarcoat it for somebody. I will never try to preach this like prosperity, blessed gospel and nothing more. Like that, I don't know why we've gotten there. I don't know why that we teach this thing of like, if life is well, then you have favor with God. Like, no, more. I would challenge that any day of the week, and that's what the Lord was saying to us Wednesday or Sunday or whatever it was, that probably last Wednesday, that we've never been taught how to grieve. We've never been taught how to suffer. We've never been taught how to sacrifice. That's not what the church is these days. Mm-hmm. We say Old Testament's just stories of old, and no, that speaks of Jesus all throughout it. So it's probably how we should be living our lives. We should probably be sacrificing and giving him an altar of the thing in that moment. And I'm not saying like idols, but when we do get to New Mexico, anointing my home, giving it to him. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like every step of our life, it should be less of me, more of you, God. So what do I have to get out of the way so you can come and do whatever you have in mind in my home, in my life, in my workplace, whatever it is. And so the stripping's hard. The pruning is miserable to the flesh. But do you want to stay in your complacency in the life that you've built because it pleases you that much? Or do you want to, and I don't know where the Lord's taking me, so I'll let you know in a few months when I can look back and say, this is what he's done these last few months. But we can't even fathom the Lord himself, so imagine what he can do in things that we can't fathom. Yeah. And I was even saying this morning, I was just talking to him about some money, things, and I was like, Lord, you can do so much more with $16 than I could do with $16. Yeah. It doesn't grow in my bank account. Yeah. But when I give that to you, there's no limitation. You could multiply that 16 to who knows what. Yeah. And I don't know. It's not even one of those things like, oh, I'm going to test you, Lord, but I just want to see what you can do. Yeah. Like, because I don't know. I've not seen a lot in my life of just beyond miraculous things. So I want to see what it looks like.
I just can't get off this thing of the follow me. Yeah. Right? And I just want to look at the disciples. Can we just for a second focus on what did they see when they left their comfort zone, when they left listen, they didn't just, I'm going to follow you on Sunday, Lord. I'm going to follow you on Wednesday, Lord. So I'll catch back up with you in Capernaum, or up in, Caesarea, Philippi, whatever, on Sunday, on Wednesday.
Right.
No, they dropped their nets. Listen, they dropped their nets right there. They left their money. They left their jobs there and said, okay,
Right.
I'm going to follow you. You know, and Peter goes to his wife, says, I don't even know what this man said, and I feel like I got to go. She said, you need to go. And he goes. I mean, and she don't say, well, who's going to pay for the rent of the house? Who's going to pay for the food? Who's going to do,
Right.
how's all that? No, you have to go in obedience, right?
Right.
And you forsake all that. But guess what happens in that moment? And when they make a decision to say, I'm going to be obedient because I feel led, I'm supposed to do this, and you step out, all of a sudden, blind eyes are opened. The lame walk. The dumb speak. I mean, and the dead are raised, and you're in that moment because you stepped out.
Right.
What if Lazarus was raised on a Thursday? But you missed it because you only come on Sunday and Wednesday. Because I got to work my job. I got to have money. Well, you missed. Lazarus got raised up yesterday, but guess what? It was really cool, you know. But you missed the moment of it, you know what I'm saying? Because we have to listen to his voice, and we have to be obedient to that. Because if what we're saying is, I sacrifice everything that I have, God, to you, I give it to you, then we have to truly mean it from our heart. And when we do, he takes that and he makes something so much greater out of it. What do you think, Ashley? I mean, you've made some really big steps just in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
You've had to make some decisions and separations and things like that. And you were like, oh, you know, hope a bomb don't get dropped over here or whatever. You know what I'm saying? In your mind.
But even the things that the Lord asked you to sacrifice, and I'm not even going to go into that, but
Yeah.
you know.
But
the things that the Lord's asked you to sacrifice, I mean, those things, they flip up your world. Like,
Yeah.
they literally turn what you've come to know and what you're living in, although your prayer is, Lord, I need this thing and I need that thing and I need this for the benefit of not just out of greed or desire, but to supply for my kid, to give a good life to my child, you know, to me and my kid. And so, but the Lord, the things that he's asked you, like, it may not be up and move to New Mexico, but it's been hard.
It's been drastic.
It's stuff that, like, in a moment of time, like, okay, Lord, if this doesn't go good, do you realize the consequence? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if this isn't really you, like, this could really mess us up here.
Yeah.
And so you've been very obedient in some really tough stuff that it's almost like, okay, Lord, I'm going to do it. And then you jump and you close your eyes because you're like, oh.
My eyes are still closed.
Yeah.
My eyes are still closed.
It's okay.
I ain't hit the bottom yet.
Yeah.
I think what I'm working through right now in my flesh, and I'm with them moving, this is a big blessing for my son and I that I've been praying for like years. I mean, since he was like 2.5 years old, I've been praying for things that they are able to bless us with. And the more Kendall's talking, the more I'm like, Lord, when I get there, are you going to just like strip it away? Because like I'm prepared, like my eyes are closed and I'm prepared for you to do it, but it's really going to hurt. And I just felt him say, like, she's in a different area than you. Like, there's been a stripping that's already taken place in your life, and I don't feel that he's saying like, no, I'm not promising I'll never take your home. I'm not promising that, but there was a stripping that has taken place that you were obedient in, and I do believe in the long suffering and all the things, but I also believe that the Lord is gracious enough to give us a moment where it's like, okay, I can breathe for 5 seconds. And to me, it's a training season of, you were listening, but now we're fixing to go to an area where I need to trust him in a totally different way.
Yeah.
I mean, and to me, I was asking the Lord out, just even in this podcast, I feel like that's such a blessing that we have, that we will talk to the Lord in our own minds. And I was like, Lord, I feel like I'm getting so much. There's not a lot of hurt that's coming from this. And I felt him say, I'm taking you into isolation for a reason. And I like weep more than Kendall. And like,
oh no, girl, you
But
haven't
he's
been there
like-
when I'm boohooing, talking about boxes.
I was even like prayed over on Sunday, and I literally was like totally fine. I was just crying because she was leaving, and then someone came and like read my mail, and the Lord was like, I have to take her, and like, I know it's about you and you're gonna do great things, but for me, he's like, you've become so reliant upon her in your walk that I need this isolation, because I don't need your dad there, I don't need your friends there, I don't need anyone there. Like, this has to be a place of isolation and true intimacy, because as intimate as I've been with the Lord, there's only so much intimacy you can do in someone else's home. There's only so much intimacy you can do when someone's in the next room. You know what I mean? Like, not saying he hasn't been gracious to meet me there, but we're fixing to be intimate in a way like it's just me, him, and Cash, and that's it. And so, and that means like, you have to rely on, in areas where I've always counted on Kendall, in areas of discernment, in areas of, this is the vision I have, are you seeing it, can you help me break it down? Like, I feel like the Lord is saying, and to me it's such a blessing that he's putting me in such a blessed, anointed home to do it in. And because you've travailed, because you've anointed it, because you've done these things, like, I get to go into an anointed, blessed home, but I get to learn the Lord now. I get to, and I felt him say, like, I want to be as close as that to you. I want to be your person. I want to be who you long to talk to, and who, when things are hard, you come to me. And like, and even though I've learned a little bit along the way, it hasn't ever been just me and him. And obviously I like can't get rid of Cash, and I wouldn't want to, but like, it's never been just us. And I feel the Lord was like, I'm ready to be your person, and I'm ready for you to be my, like that, that true marriage. We've done our dating. He's wooed me. We've dated. We got baptized. Now we're taking this marriage to the next level. And to me, we're each walking into a new glory. And like, you are going into a new glory. And when the Lord taught me, like, stop comparing yourself, because it's different. She's different than you. Diana's different than you. Like, I have to understand that. And to me, I believe everyone's glory to glory to glory is different.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
I'm like, even though I'm grieved and I'm sad, like, I know that this travailing will take place to enter into a new glory. I know that she's going to enter into a glory. And then I believe, and this is happening, I'm so glad it's being recorded, because I feel like the Lord's just showing, but he's like, when all three of you are in New Mexico, and this ground has been plowed, whether it be through prayers or through what I believe Jake's going to do even personally, like, there's going to be a new glory that takes place when you three go there. So don't ever forget the three, because I'm not breaking the three.
Yeah.
I'm expanding. Thank you, God.
Expanding, yeah.
I'm expanding the three. Yeah. And there will be a glory that we will enter into that we could never experience here. So I'm going to be really upset, but if he tells us, like, we all got to disperse, like, we have to know there's a new glory that's going to take place every time we're obedient. And I just think of, like, I was even saying it yesterday, and I think Sunday too, like, when they walked with Jesus, there was mourning that took place, and I don't think the Lord disregards that mourning. I think that he wants us, but had they just stopped at the mourning and said, this is too much, it hurts too much, like, they would have never seen Lazarus be raised.
Yeah.
They would have never seen Jesus speak and a storm stop. They would have never seen someone walk on water. They would have never seen the woman with the issue of blood be healed. They would have never seen that. They would have never seen that. So true discipleship, the simplicity of discipleship, is just following Jesus.
Yeah.
And then those things take place. But to me, like, everything, not that the signs and the wonders are the point. They're not the point. They're bonuses.
The bonuses.
But imagine the glory that they went to after that.
Yeah.
Like, if you want more of this, you've got to go to the next glory. You've got to go to the next place. And I do believe that there would have come a point that if we continue to stay here, the Lord, if you continue to stay here, you specifically, because of what your prayer has been, if you stayed here, you would have been content. But you will always be hungry for more had you just stayed here. So I believe that the more that you're asking for, and I said it the other day, I believe when you cross that state line, there's going to be something that the Lord does in that moment. But I believe that when you get there, there's a new glory that you're entering into that you could never enter in here. And I also believe it's because he needed to set you apart. He needed to set you apart and move you and not have other people say what you're to do or anything like that. It's literally just you and him. Yeah. And I'm so jealous of that because I'm like, I'm so ready for that. But I'm so happy that we still have her as our 3.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know if y'all felt that, but I felt the Lord was like, whew, like,
no,
here it is.
Here's the thing is that we all have to have a time of separation. Y'all remember a couple of weeks ago we were talking. And I said, sometimes it hurts me so bad to see you guys go through things I can't help you go through. I can pray for you, and it's things that I know that I've already had to go through, you know.
Right.
But it's necessary for y'all to go through, only because I'm twice your age. But the thing is,
Stop.
And so now this is just the next step when you go into isolation. God separates you from the familiar so that you can experience him, all of who he is.
Right.
And you're so right, because the glory grows as you go. And you never go through something if you're not on your way to something.
Right.
And so I think that this is just, your next step. Your next step for this is because you got to be dependent completely upon the Lord. Even for me, when I came back, I knew that I was in a different place. I had to go through that time of healing, 3 years, and then when I came back, then I still had the safety net of my mother, right? Because my mother was the prayer person. She's the warrior person. She's the, you got something that you got going on, you go and you have your, you pray, have mom pray for you, everybody did. People called her all the time. And so even when my mom died, it was something that was necessary for this ministry. Because it couldn't be based upon the prayers of my mother. Yeah. It had to be me going into the secret place and travailing.
You know what I just saw?
Yeah.
It was Moses to the Israelites.
Mm.
Moses couldn't keep going with them. Otherwise, they would have never entered the promised land. Because they had become so dependent on Mo to go
he was
to
the
go
idol.
seek the Lord himself.
He was the idol.
Yeah. And maybe not even to the extent of that your mom ever became your idol kind of thing, but like you said, you and everyone else became so dependent upon her to go, like, oh, well, no, she'll go get the Lord for us, she'll go get all the angels, bring, she'll go do it, and we'll just reap the benefit of it. And I don't think there's anything wrong in prayer partners, prayer warriors, like going to people that you love and trust, but when it overtakes you and the Lord, that's the problem.
When you get to a certain place, and I'm not saying he's going to kill off everybody's parents. Please don't get me wrong. I'm saying that there comes a certain time where the Lord says, I'm calling you, I'm calling you to step out. Well, you can step out when you got somebody beside you to step out.
Right.
I mean, it just makes it so much easier.
Well, you keep saying safety net, and that's what I was going to say a second ago.
It was such a safety net. Because
the safety nets is how you know you're not truly sacrificing something.
Exactly right. When I still had my house, it was still mine. I had something to go back to. So it was a safety net, right? So I know that I don't have to, I'm just going for temporary, and I'm going to be back eventually, right? Mm-hmm. But then when you don't have no house to come back to, then you got to have the faith to come back. And where are you going to go? Right. Well, then you're having to live with somebody else. You're dependent upon somebody else. And I hate that. Yeah. I mean, I never was a person that liked to live with other people. I wanted my own thing. My goal was before I was 30, I owned my own house. Well, I was 29. And so the Lord answered that prayer. And so that was mine. And I didn't want anybody to come and take that. And so every single thing that I know that I've ever put my trust into that wasn't him, until I lost those things, did I ever fully have to come into completely trusting him. Mm-hmm. It's different to say, God, I trust you, because I still got all these things. But then when they start going one by one away, do you still trust me? Mm-hmm. Will you still follow me if you don't even know where you're going? Yeah. And we just, a few weeks ago, we sat out here and we said, God, whatever the idol is in our life that supersedes you, strip it away. We surrender it to you. And so we're seeing that, the comfort things, the things that, that mean the world to us. He says, but do you trust me? Will you follow me? So, I think this is just, I love what you said, Ashton. I know that was inspired of the Lord, because I know I've already heard people saying that, we're just not going to make it after you leave and all of this. And so I've already gotten a couple of calls of that. But if we're dependent upon you, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you're dependent upon her, I'm dependent upon her. If I'm dependent even on you, Ashton, as to whether I'm going to be obedient what God says, then I wasn't being obedient.
Right. Well, and I even think for you, because, we know it's tough for all of us, but I remember back to the beginning of this, what did you always say to us over and over and over? Like, are you sure?
Are you sure?
You want to get in this? And I know that it came from not just a looking out for us place, but also a place of, you've said it before, like, Lord, I can't step out and do this by myself.
Yeah.
Like, I
completely
need these girls,
was Moses. I was like, but send Aaron too,
Yeah.
So,
and so, even, like, to the extent of, like, we may not entirely in every aspect depend upon each other, but we always know, again, there's that safety net there. Mm-hmm. And we're, like we said, the three's not going away. It's just we're going to do it from afar. But that separation, like, there's something that happens in that moment. There's something that happens when Jesus came out of the water and he had to go into the wilderness before he could step into his ministry. Like, before he could truly do the things of God, he had to go away. Mm-hmm. He had to separate himself, and so I just think it's I don't know if I should, but I would challenge you if you say, like, yeah, I'm a follower. We talked about the other day, the disciple and being a follower of Christ versus being a Christian, and the names that we put upon our walk with the Lord. And I would challenge you, if you're living it high and mighty and you're happy because you got your home, you got your car, you got your money, you got your
401k,
this, you got your that, you got all these things that, and what do we say? I worked hard for this, my blood, sweat, and tears, Mm-hmm. If you've got all that, I want to challenge you to ask the Lord, is there anything I've put before you? And if you're one to say, because I know we have some friends that listen to this that say, like, I want to go from that glory to glory. I want to see the things of God. I think it's our job in simple discipleship, to be real and honest, and to say it's not always a bed of roses. It's not always rainbows and butterflies, and it's just easy going. And you might have it rough here. And right now, the Lord has been stripping for a minute, whether it be through our finances, whether it be through us we had to step away at one point. That was... Mm-hmm. That was probably just as hard as this, because although we weren't crossing state lines, it was the same grieving in our heart, it was the same ripping apart. And so it's been literally a year and a couple of months that we've been walking through just one layer of stripping after another layer of stripping after another layer of stripping. And even if you don't say, well, I'm going to go into ministry and I'm going to go lead people, your life is a ministry. The way you live, the way you talk to people, the way that you operate, like, all that is ministry. And so I want to challenge you, like, if you think you've arrived because of the materialistic things that you have, and you think it's because the favor of God upon your life, ask him what your idol is.
Yeah.
Ask him what is standing in between you and him. Ask him what is keeping you going from this glory to that glory. If you truly want to go, if you don't want to go to the next glory, don't ask the question.
Yeah, don't ask.
Don't even tiptoe in the water.
Yeah.
But if you're one that's hungry for more, I would encourage you to get raw and real with the Lord and say, Lord, I've come to the understanding that I thought a blessed life, a favorable life, was a life that I have it all, but I'm realizing that maybe that's not really it at all. Maybe you need to prune me of some things, and we've got to go into that pruning, and there's got to be an experience with Him in that, you know. Sorry, we got all the babies, all the crying.
I'm not apologizing. I don't get much longer.
River woke up and all the things, but yeah, they won't be here much.
Nope. Don't
Let's don't talk about it.
apologize.
Let's don't talk about it. Let's don't talk about it. Well, y'all, it's been good. It's been good. I just would just leave y'all with if you truly want to follow the Lord.
Yeah.
Do you know that scripture we talked about where there was over 500 people, and Jesus began to say, if you want to be my disciple, then you must, leave your father and mother. You must, leave everything behind to truly be my disciple. And what happened was, a whole bunch left and went back home, because the sacrifice that was necessary to follow him, they no longer wanted to do. They were there for the loaves and the fishes.
Yeah.
They were there for the miracles and the signs and the wonders. But when you want to go to the next step with Jesus, and he says there's a sacrifice required, that you leave it all behind, who will turn back and who will follow?
Yeah.
So I would say, if you truly want to follow Jesus, there's a cost. There's a cost. And I pray that everybody makes that choice to just whatever pay the price, because it's so going to be worth it.
I don't remember if I said it on the last podcast or not, but it's if I did, I'll say it again, because I think it's really what the Lord's been saying is, like, there comes a point in your life, in multiple seasons of your life, and I almost mentioned it earlier when you had said something, but of like right now your stripping looks different than my stripping, and then later your stripping might look more like my stripping now, and then my the seasons are always different. But I was talking to my sister-in-law about how, like, because she was explaining how just she felt a little distant, like the Lord had been really revealing, and then it was kind of like this drawback, and I always explain that as, like, it's not necessarily the Lord's moving away, but imagine when you're teaching your kid how to swim, right? And then you take a few steps back, and not to let them fall and drown, and not to leave them high and dry. It's because you want them to keep coming. You want them to learn. You want them to push in and keep going, and before you know it, they swim across the whole pool, and then they get to the other side, and they look back, and they're like, "What?" And they thought you may have been being mean and teasing them and backing up, but really you're backing up so they can learn, so they can grow, so they can come, in a pool scenario, so they can fulfill that full length, and do what they needed to do. So when you feel that stripping away, just lean into it, like just yield to it, because there's something sweeter that's going to come from the other side, on the other side from that. But the second thing I was going to say was, when you come to that moment of where you sense that pulling back, you sense that stripping away, you sense that moment where the Lord starts asking you to lay something down, sacrifice something. It's a crossroad in our life.
Right.
And we have two options. And this is what the Lord revealed to me the other day. We have two options. We can either stay content where we are, keep living it because it's my life, it's what I've built up, it's what I want to do, and it doesn't negate your salvation. Maybe. I don't think so. Not entirely. But if you get to that point and the Lord's asking you for these things and you refuse, then you'll just remain. Or you can choose the other side of the crossroad that says, I want to be a more intimate bride. And so regardless of how bad this is going to hurt, I'm going to yield to it. Regardless of how unsettled I feel in this moment, I also have this undeniable peace, and so it's either, again, it comes back to the bride thing, but do you want to be a more intimate bride, or do you just want to settle because it's what's easier, it's what's more comfortable, and it doesn't hurt me as bad? Those are my list.
Whew. Deep. It's deep. Do we not do a commercial? We can just say where they can contact us at, because I don't know if that's all right or not.
No, and we're going to have, we're trying to finish altering things before I do leave, but we'll have different ways to give soon. You can, if you give through Subsplash, you can continue to give that way for a little bit. We'll let you know when that changes. Check or money order by mail, you can still send that way. And then we'll have new ways of giving soon that'll help avoid processing fees and that such.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do.
We're trying to get away from that because we know that that can be a killer sometimes.
But we do appreciate y'all giving. You
Yes.
guys are giving. Y'all been so faithful. And, you know, we do have bills here, and we do want to help support the new ministry going out. So that's the plan, is that we're expanding and we're planting in a new area. So we do want to help with you guys out there. So P.L. Box 1318, Forney, Texas 75126. And you can go to m3mi.org to give. And so plant that seed, good ground.
You can order merch too. I don't know.
Yeah,
That was
please.
just
Yeah,
on me. Like, you can
please
order
go
merch.
there. We've got some new stuff coming out. I think we're going to
And when
create
I'm
some new stuff.
all isolated in New Mexico, there will be a lot more new merch coming.
When you're not cooking for the ranch, you
And
know?
our girl Angie, she's so awesome.
She's
She'll
amazing.
like take a picture and tag us. But we want to see that. We want to
Yeah.
see. We know that we have listeners in other countries now, so
Yeah, so-
we would love if y'all would, order some and take pics.
Yeah,
and
go on the
tag us
website and order you some merchandise. Go be
Yeah.
Jesus today, right? So
Yeah.
go do Yeshua and all that stuff that's on there. There's some really cool and tiny
Stuff for
disciples
kids,
and and I know there'll be a lot more stuff, because I think we're gonna have an Etsy store. We got one set up, and we're gonna expand that over there, and even an Amazon account that we can put merch on there too. So we're working on all that really quick to get that done. But anyway,
Yeah.
remember this: to go show some love
Show some compassion.
give mercy,
and go be Jesus today.
Hey, SDU family, thank you for joining us today. We do value your feedback, so if you have any questions or suggestions of topics, please feel free to reach out to our email at info@m3mi.org or reach out to us via text or call to our SDU hotline. The number is 214-600-7771.